I have a lot to go over, so normally I would wait like 2 or 3 minutes for stragglers to come in, but I don't know that I'm going to have 2 to 3 minutes to spare in this presentation, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name's Rae Hoffman. I go online. I'm known better as Sugar Ray. I've spoken probably over 200 times in my career. If I seem a little nervous on stage, it's because my daughter's in the audience today, and this is the first time she's ever seen me speak. If y'all happen to see her after the session, tell her how much she looks like me. She loves hearing that. So I'm going to be going over finding profitable content ideas. My slides are at sugarray.com/ASE15. That way y'all don't have to be worrying about writing down all the tools that I'm going to be going over. So you'll be able to follow along if you want to go ahead and download the PDF real quick. I blog and have a newsletter at sugarray.com, and I'm also the co-owner of a internet marketing agency called PushFire. We specialize in SEO and PPC. And per my partner, I have to tell y'all we're hiring. This is a content session, so there's probably not many pay-per-click guys in here, but we are hiring pay-per-click marketers, and you can find out more about that at pushfire.com/careers. Okay, so we're going to go into, this is a content ideas session, but it's also going to focus a little bit on how content ties into SEO, right? So in this day and age, Google basically says that if you look at it and you're looking at, this is what most people think of when they think of an algorithm, right? They think mathematical computations, and it's really hard to figure out. And Google's like, oh, no, no, no. It's all about just creating amazing content. And then this little girl in the unicorn will lead you over the rankings rainbow, and you'll get great SEO results. And your competitors are pretty much laughing at you because they know that that's not the way it happens. SEO is complicated, and content marketing is basically the new link building. I always refer to content marketing to link building as what an escort is to a prostitute, because link building basically got a bad name, so now we're all doing content marketing, right? And so we want to create content that both the search engines are going to like, but that are also going to generate us revenue and generate us visitors. And I kind of look at Google like Skynet. Everybody in here's seen the Terminator, right? I'm not that old yet. Okay. So I always refer to Google as Skynet, right? They're very much do as we say, not as we do. And they pretty much want control of everything that happens on the web. So they want to tell us what type of content we can build, how we can promote it, how we can monetize it. And if we don't play by their rules, then they basically want to kill us and kill all of civilization. So I always tell people that when you're creating content, and you're creating content from the perspective of wanting to still be able to do well in Google, that you basically have to be Sarah Connor. And so my reasoning for that is a lot of people, when they think about creating content, they're thinking only about Google. And so I want you guys to not think only about Google. And we're going to look at some ways to find content ideas from general keyword ideas, but also to see what your competitors are doing well and how you can replicate what they're doing, improve on what they're doing, and actually do it better. So we've all heard this, right? Content is king. I think that's a bullshit mantra. You can have the best content in the world, but if there's nobody around to see it, it's not going to have any benefit to you. I used to own one of the largest sites on BlackBerry phones before BlackBerry became obsolete. And we had one time where we had gotten a scoop on a new iOS system that came out, right? In this regard, that would be killer content. And we were embargoed on it, and the day before the embargo was released, the largest site in the space published the pictures of what we had an exclusive on that we were planning to publish that Monday morning. And so if content was king, they absolutely would have killed us by releasing it a day early. But because they were the largest site, they just assumed we're the largest site, so we can just publish something and people are going to love it and they're going to link to it. And so we went proactive the next morning and contacted everybody, and we did an outreach campaign, and I'm going to show you a little more about that in a minute. But we ended up being the one that was featured on all the sites and got all the links from Engadget and all of the major news sites. So if content is king, then promotion is its queen. You cannot have content and have it do well without doing promotion. So I'm going to be covering both aspects of that. So I always say that there are two types of content. There's the content that you want to write, and then there's the content that your target market actually wants to find. And so where you find the intersection, or where the best intersection to be is writing the content that you want to write, because that's the type of content that you have passion passion behind, and that's the type of content that's going to flow from you and that's really going to resonate with people, but you also want to publish that content that people want to find. So you're looking for the intersection. Now, I always put this up here, and this is more for SEO people, I think, than people who primarily focus on blogging. But like I said, content marketing's the new thing. Content marketing's been around since '98, but it's the new catchphrase. So I'm not going to tell you just to create good content and you'll get rankings. So you have content marketing, and there's two types of content marketing. Type of content marketing, one is what I call BS content marketing, and the other one is what I call real content marketing. So who was around when Dig was a big thing? Okay, so we used to do things where I owned a site that ran credit card offers at one point in time, right? And so we did some posts that was like the top 12 weirdest credit cards you'll ever find. And like one was like a Hello Kitty credit card, and there was a Star Wars credit card. And we did a whole post on that, and then we pushed it through Dig. We may have had a network of friends to be able to get it up to the front page. And so it got tons of traffic. It got some links, things along those lines. But as soon as the content piece came off the Dig homepage, as soon as the splash was gone, our traffic went right back to the levels that it was at before, because that content didn't actually have any real use to anybody. Nobody was coming back to it once they visited it once. And it did really nothing to promote the brand from the perspective of people who were looking for credit cards, right? So anybody that came in on that piece didn't come back after viewing that one piece. Whereas real content marketing is the type of content that you'll put on your site and people will come visit it, and you're actually drawing in your target market. And they're either going to sign up for newsletter subscriptions, or they're going to follow you on Twitter, or they're going to fan you on Facebook, so that the next time that you put out content, you have more actual viewers. And so that's what this is representing, is one just goes up, you have a major burst, and then it comes down, flatlines right where it was before. Real content marketing, you're not going to see a huge retention from the people that you brought in, but you should see some retention. And if you're not, then you're doing content marketing wrong. So when I look at content marketing success, for me, it's not just about the traffic numbers, right? So I want to see content marketing that works is content marketing that drives sales, that has decent conversion rates, that gives us an increased time on site, TOS, time on site, not terms of service, sorry, didn't realize that, an increased average order value, a reduced bounce rate, increased list signups, and then the other aspect of that would be increased brand searches, people going into Google and typing in your topic and then your brand after it. So you want to create content that's actually going to drive these sub-metrics, if you want to call them that, that you can measure content marketing success with. So I'm going to be going through a bunch of tools. So a few of these are free. The majority of these are paid. And I say this because one of the big things that I hear a lot is people are like, oh, well, those tools are amazing, but they're paid. I need free tools. You get what you pay for. So, I mean, there used to be a time frame where all the tools were free and everybody was sharing information. But with the hoops you have to jump through to be able to provide this information now, and you have to use APIs, and you have to adhere to terms of service, and then you've got to make sure that your tools are always up and that they're maintained and answer customer service. The best tools are no longer free. There's a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, they're all paid. And so what I usually tell people, especially bloggers that are on a budget, is have your months where you focus on one tool. The majority of these tools do not require contracts where you have to stay members of them for 12 months. So you make 1 month keyword research month, 1 month backlink research month, and you can go ahead and get these tools for a month, get what you need out of them, do enough research to fuel your efforts for the next 6 to 12 months, and then cancel your membership with the tool and repeat the process when you need to. So this is a cool tool called, and I always hear everybody pronounce it differently. I pronounce it Ahrefs.com. I don't know what the actual, somebody's laughing at me for that pronunciation. So this is Ahrefs.com. And so what they do, so in this case, and again, if y'all can't see, that's why sugarray.com/ASE15, you'll be able to see a little better if you follow along with the PDF. But I put in a site called Country Outfitter, which is like basically a site that sells boots, and I love boots, and they do an amazing job with developing content that's shared very well on social. So what I did was I put in their root domain, and you'll see on the left side there's a green arrow pointing to it, and it's a section called Top Pages. And what this does is it lets you know what the top pages are on this site. And so if I were a competitor to them, I would type this in, I would type in my competitor's URL, and it'll show you the top pages that are listed on their site. And so it's a combination of the top pages based on domain authority, social shares, the number of inbound links that content received, etc. So you can see what content is performing the best on your competitor's network. You can go ahead and sort it based on, do you want to see the most tweeted content, or do you want to see the most Facebook shared content, or do you want to see, well, you don't really need to see the most Google Plus shared content. But so that'll allow you to kind of figure out what your competitors are doing and what they're doing well. And what I tell people is you don't want to create an exact copy. And I'm not suggesting that you go through and go, oh, these are their top 10 articles, I'm going to write the same exact articles. You either want to improve, update, or make more relevant what it is that they're doing. Basically, you want to see what they're doing and see if there's a way that you can do it better. So that's the top pages on Ahrefs. And then they also have a section that's top referring content. So you have their top pages on their site that are doing really well. This report right here will show you the top content on their site that has the most power when it comes to getting links and links from other sites. So this is a section that lets you know what content on their site is getting the most powerful links, the most, I hate to use this term, but the most juice from external sites from an SEO perspective. And also from in estimates referring traffic perspective, right? So I typed in my domain name for this, and it's showing me that, you know, one of the most powerful blogs that's generating traffic, links, et cetera, to my site is a post that Kissmetrics linked to. The purpose for this, because you may be saying right now, well, that's great that they link to you. What the hell does that have to do with content? And it's the same thing as far as the first screen shows you the popular content as far as shares and inbound link authority. This shows you the specific pages that are linking to it and the specific types of sites that are linking to your competitors. And so if you can see what the powerful sites are linking to on your competitors, you can create content that's either complementary or similar, or like I said, that's improved upon, expanded upon, or a lot of times made more relevant. There's a lot of times where your competitors will do content and it was kick-ass content, but it was published in 2011. So you can go back and kind of do an updated version of it, and then you can outreach to the blogs that have already shown they like to link to this type of content, and pitch your content to them to be able to get traffic and links to the page. This is, how many people in here know what SEMrush is? Okay, again, I'm told it's SEMrush, different pronunciations. It's kind of hard when the only thing you do is read something, nobody ever pronounces it out loud to you. So one of the things that you can do is, once you've identified some of the top pages that your competitors have, one of the things that you want to do is make sure that that page is actually generating traffic that's turning into profit. Because, for instance, there is a site that I work with, and they rank very, very well for free meme generators. And believe it or not, shocker, that doesn't drive a lot of money. It drives a lot of traffic, but it has a very high bounce rate. Nobody actually clicks through to their site. It has a very poor newsletter conversion sign-up rate. So that content is essentially just eating bandwidth, and all the time that they put into doing it, based on the fact that it was just a high-volume search term, has basically been useless. So one of the things that you can do in SEMrush is you can type in a specific page rather than a competitor's actual domain. And by typing in that page, you can see the keywords that SEMrush estimates is driving traffic to that page, so the actual keywords from search. And the column that I have highlighted is the CPC column, right? And so that'll tell you, in, again, SEMrush's estimate, what advertisers are paying to advertise on those keywords. If advertisers are paying crap to advertise on those keywords, then 99% of the time, it's going to mean that those keywords don't convert, that there's very little monetary value to those keywords. So whenever I'm looking at competitors' content, I want to make sure that the keywords that they're ranking for, that the type of traffic that it's pulling in actually has some type of monetary value. And typically, you can determine that by looking at whether or not people are bidding on it. You will find that rare instance where you find an industry in 2015 that nobody else has found. But 99.9% of the time, if nobody's bidding on it, there's a reason, and it's not because you found some secret gold mine that nobody else knows about. So when it comes to finding the money keywords, I did a really, really in-depth tutorial on this that would take me 2 hours to go through in a session. So it's at sugarray.com 18938, and you'll find a full guide there on how to use SEMrush to actually identify the money keywords and make sure that you're not wasting your time when you're developing content through one of the methods of finding content pages that you want to duplicate or try to create. So this is a tool called linkresearchtools.com, and I always feel bad when I recommend this tool because it is expensive. I think their lowest plan is like $100 a month. So if you use it, make sure you power use it for a month, and their plans go all the way up to into the thousands of dollars a month. But Links Research Tools has huge value when it comes to all of the information that they offer on backlinks. So they are a great tool, and this is something that they refer to as their common backlinks tool. And so what this does is this allows you to put in your URL and competing URLs, or even 3 competitors' URLs. It doesn't matter what URLs you're putting in there. In this case, you'll see at the top that I put in moz.com, sugarray.com, and pushfire.com. And so when I run it, what this does is this shows all the sites that are linking to those 3 sites. And it helps me identify which sites have links in common, right? So you'll see in the lower column right there where it says 1, 2, 3, and there's an arrow. I checked off the first 2 boxes. So what I said, basically what that says is, show me the sites that are linking to 1 and 2, but aren't linking to 3. And so what that can allow you to do is find who is linking to your competitors, all of your competitors except for you. And it'll show you if you click through on that root domain URL, it'll show you the pages that are linking to your competitors. So you can see what type of content it is that your competitors are generating that's causing these pages to link to them. And once again, you're looking to add something complementary, or you're looking to update something, you're in some way looking to provide content that your competitors are providing, and then reaching out to the people that are linking to it to try and get links from it. This is a tool called Keyword Tool IO, and you'll notice that it says deadline August 10th. So Google has something, this is a keyword tool that's based on Google Suggest. Does everybody in here know what that is? Okay, so Google Suggest is, when you start typing something into Google and Google tries to pretend that it knows what you're thinking and it drops down like a list of what it thinks you might be typing in, they refer to that as Google Suggest. And Google Suggest has an API. For the non-technical, it just basically means that Google has a door for tools to be able to come into Google and grab that information programmatically. Google announced, I think it was last week, it may have been the week before, that they are shutting down that API. So tools like Uber Suggest, Keyword Tool IO, all the tools that are dependent on that API are no longer going to have that API. So if you're going to play with a tool, this would be the first one that I would play with, because you're kind of on a deadline to get the data from it. It is possible to scrape Google to get the same data, but then you're breaking their terms of service, and who knows how far these services are going to go to continue offering the information. So this is my little cousin, owns a website where he does rescreening and closures, right? And so what I did was I ran screen and closure through Keyword Tool IO, and what this does is this shows me what Google believes people are searching for when it comes to that word. And so what it does, what the tool does, is it basically types in screen enclosure A, screen enclosure B to see what drops down in Google Suggest, only it does it programmatically and presents you with a list. And so one of the things that you can do is you can come up with content generation ideas based on what Google believes people are searching for anyway. So in his case, he may want to put up a page on screen enclosure alternatives and talk about the alternatives that there are to screen enclosures, and shocker, they may be worse than having a screen enclosure. Also, maybe tutorials on repairing one, cleaning one, painting one, the average cost of one. Again, this is Google telling you what it believes people are searching for, so that you need to make sure that you have content surrounding this on your site. One of the things that I would recommend, though, is that when you look at these ideas, some of them are gibberish. So just make sure that if it doesn't make sense to you from a human perspective, why this keyword phrase would exist, then ignore it. Don't write. I'm not suggesting, by the way, that y'all go home and write a page for every single one of these suggestions. Pick out the one that makes the ones that make the most sense. And the good thing about this from a local perspective, and I don't know how many people in here target local markets, but the good thing about this from a local perspective is that by writing articles on things that are more national, that basically could get linked to from everywhere, he has the ability to develop some really strong backlinks, which will help him do better in local search. So, but again, Keyword Tool IO, Uber Suggest does it as well, but Uber Suggest has basically been kind of quirky for the last few months. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. So you can use either one of them to do that. But again, I would make sure that you do it before August 10th. Another thing to make sure that you pay attention to when you're researching potential content ideas and when you're doing keyword research is the type of content that's showing up in Google when you search for a keyword. So let's say that you found a keyword phrase or an article topic that y'all want to write about, whether it be, 8 wedding disasters or whether it be how to pick the perfect blender. You go and type that phrase into Google and see what types of results are actually showing up. In this respect, when it comes to cleaning a cleaning a pool or a screen enclosure, you'll see that what comes up, what's heavily favored are videos. So when you're creating this type of content, kind of let Google give you the general direction of what type of content is going to work best for this keyword. And it makes a lot of sense too when you look at it, that you would want to see a video of it. It's just much easier and it's much quicker, but at the same time, make sure that you offer alternative forms of that content as well. I don't know how many people in here, I hate video. I don't know why, I just do. Anytime that I find a tutorial, if I go there and it's just a video, I'll click back and try and find the text version. So make sure that you're also catering to all audiences. So Google may prefer a video result, but I'd also make sure that I included a text version of that video on the same page, whether it be a direct transcription or just step-by-step of what you're doing in the video. There's a tool called authoritylabs.com, and so basically what they do is rank tracking. And so let me explain a little bit on this. So rank tracking, there is personalized search. So when you're logged into Google search, you get different results than somebody who's not logged into Google search. Who you're friends with on Google Plus, if you use Google Plus, influences what types of results you see in the SERPs. Your past keyword searches influence what types. So rank tracking from a generic perspective, 10 years ago, if you ranked number 3, you ranked number 3. Rank tracking in today's day and age is very subjective to who's searching, what location they're searching from, what type of content they've searched for before. So keep that in mind. However, Authority Labs offers a rank tracker, and one of the interesting things is not necessarily where it says that you rank for certain keywords, but one of the features that I like is the result types over here on the side. So it'll show you the search volume, but it'll also show you what types of results are showing up in the SERPs, whether a knowledge graph or the knowledge info box knowledge graph answer is showing up in the SERPs, whether it's a video that's showing up in the SERPs, whether it's Google Shopping that's showing up in the results. So this is a good way to programmatically put in a list of 200 topics that you're thinking about writing about and seeing what types of results are showing up for those topics before you spend a lot of time strategizing what type of content you're going to create. How many people have heard? Am I going too fast? I know I talk fast. I'm sorry. That's partially the Jersey. I live in Texas now, but I still got the Jersey 5 mile a minute or 50 mile a minute speaking. So BuzzSumo, anybody in here? Okay, so BuzzSumo is like one of my favorite content marketing, content idea tools. It's awesome. They do have a free version. It's limited. I use the paid version. But so basically in this case, and it was actually good that I did this example because I got to show you guys an extra thing that I wouldn't have thought about to put in. So basically you can go to buzzsumo.com and you can type in any root topic, right? In this case, I typed in cowboy boots. Apparently there was like this really viral post about these cowboy boots that look like sandals. So they're like flip-flops, but cowboy boots, they're really disgusting. And so that's not what I was looking for, right? So what I did was negative the word sandal. So just as an FYI, you can do that. You can type in a keyword phrase and then negative a keyword that's kind of like, and I'm trying to, I apologize, I didn't think of another instance where that would be helpful. But if you're noticing that it's flooded with a certain type of topic and you're like, ooh, didn't mean that kind, you can negative keywords as well. And so what this does is this shows me some of the top content that BuzzSumo knows about on the web that contains that keyword phrase. And up at the top, you'll see an arrow on the right-hand side of the screen. Up at the top, you can sort that. So, and it's from in this case, social perspective, right? When it's laid out on the main screen. And so you can sort that based on, are you targeting Facebook users? I mean, there's some people in here that just your content's not going to do well on Pinterest. There's some people in here, your content's just not going to do well on Twitter. So based on wherever it is that you have the most traction with your social network, you can see what type of content is doing best on what social networks, sorting them by how much they've been shared on the various social networks. The other thing that you can do, and again, you can, like I said, these tools have some overlap, but this allows you to find different topics. Then you can click on and view their backlinks so that you can see what type of backlinks this type of content got. So it may have gotten a lot of social shares, but maybe it didn't generate many backlinks. And so depending on what your objective is with the content, maybe you do just want a bunch of social shares because maybe you want branding, or maybe you figured out that you have a 1% subscription rate when people come in from Facebook. So you want to create more content when that people are going to share on Facebook. This will help you identify that type of content. How many people in here use Google Analytics? Should be everybody in the room. So Google Analytics has something that they refer to as site search. And so basically they will, as long as you set it up, they will group together all of the terms on your site that have been typed into a search box. And there is on this page, I give you the link to how to find out how to set up Google Site Search and Google Analytics. But basically what it'll do is it'll tell you the things that have been most searched on your site in the last 30 days. And if you don't have content or on whatever those topics are, you need to look at, and again, you want to checks and balances it. You just don't want to randomly go, because remember there are spam bots that fill out search. So you don't want to just randomly go, hey, this is a search for Sugar Ray by Pinterest followers. That's not anything that real people are putting into my site search. So that's another way that you can mine content ideas and find out what it is that people are looking for on your site. We had a specific client that we were dealing with that one of the things that people kept typing into their search engine was how to figure out my size. And it was just something they hadn't really thought about as far as people being really confused on what the size of their product was, because they mainly sold hats. So it was kind of like, I guess, I wouldn't think about that people were looking for a size of hat. So they ended up writing content on that and then linking to it from the product pages, and it helped increase their conversion rates. So make sure that you guys are mining Google Site Search if at all possible. And that's for bloggers as well. You can set that up so that it'll show you it'll group together all the terms that people are typing into your blog search as well. This is a tool called ideas.contentforest.com, and this is one of those ones that's free. You can get a lot out of this tool for free. They do have a paid version, but you can get a lot out of it for free. And so basically what you can do is you can type in any topic and click go, and it'll spit out a list. In this case, it gave me 25 pages of topic ideas. And so they're actual blog post titles. Some of them are like, you look at it and it looks like they were written by somebody that gets paid like 1 cent a word for writing content. So they're not all fantastic. But when you look through them, you can see, like 12 top tips to achieve success in affiliate marketing. So this can be good for helping you guys generate content ideas that you may not have thought of that are in your niche. And then once again, you kind of want to qualify those and make sure that they're going to drive traffic and that they're on valuable keywords. You'll see to the right, I have an arrow there because there's a checked little box. So you can basically check the content ideas that you think are valuable or you think are worth exploring further, and it'll keep them in that sidebar right there. And then when you're done going through them, you can click copy and paste it into a text editor or Microsoft Word so that you can go through the topic ideas later. And then this is surveymonkey.com, so they allow you to run surveys. It's amazing to me how many people forget to ask their audience what type of content they would like to see more of. Every year I run a reader survey on my site, and this is a write-in area where people can write in, and I basically say, what would you like to see me write more about? What do you wish I had content on? You'd be surprised. Your user base is willing to give you feedback on that type of stuff, so you guys need to make sure that you are asking your users, because the people that will take the time to fill out a survey on your site are the people who will take the time to share your post and who will take the time to tweet your posts and who will take the time to mention your posts on their own blogs. So sometimes they can be some of the most valuable sources of content ideas, not only for good content, but also for being able to write the content that your audience is already telling you that they would like to see. And this is engaged audience that's also taking time to fill out a survey. Everybody in here know what HARO is? So it's help a reporter out, and you may be going like, these people are looking for me to give them content for their sites. One of the things that HARO can help you identify and I don't know if this is how they intend people to use their service, but if you sign up for HARO every day, they send you out a list, right? And you can segment it so you're only getting, article topics from certain, article requests for certain topics, right? So what HARO does is it's help a reporter out. Reporters basically say, hey, I'm writing a story on how not to get ripped off on your wedding. If you are a wedding coordinator, we would love to hear your, top 2 tips of how you might get ripped off for your wedding. One of the things that you'll notice, though, is that when something starts trending, when a topic starts to get really, really popular, you'll see 5 or 6 requests in a HARO for the same topic, right? So something will happen that you may not necessarily think of. So maybe something happened in the housing market, and so then you'll see 6 reporters that want to talk to people about, they're looking for people in Houston that are being affected by the oil crisis, right? And that's something very specific, but you can use it to see what's trending and what the national media outlets and what your other media outlets are going to be writing about, so that you can kind of beat them to the punch. A lot of times you can turn something around as an individual blogger a little quicker. So HARO can kind of help you identify what topics might be trending or might be about to trend, so that you can make sure that you get content up on those topics and be there early before Facebook starts blowing up with content on the topic. So we're going back to Ahrefs again. This is broken backlinks. And so everybody's like, this is a content session. Broken backlinks is an SEO thing. It is an SEO thing, but it's so easy to do that I have to mention it. So in this case, I typed up a domain that was for a restaurant. And so basically this is an Asian fusion restaurant in Houston that apparently changed their URL structure and didn't bother to do any redirects. So now everybody that's linking to them is linking to a 404 page. If I'm an Asian fusion restaurant in Houston, then I should be contacting all of these pages and going, wow, that link to Straits is broke, but I sell Asian fusion and mine is amazing, and getting them to link to that. But the other thing that you can do is you can find content on competitor sites where they've done the same thing. They somehow, maybe inadvertently, maybe purposely, somebody came in and was like, oh, all the stuff the old SEO company did was crap, or, bloggers go through and kind of purge something without doing it systematically according to analytics. And so they delete pages that for whatever reason have some type of value. And you can go in and see, so what you can do is, so now you're going, well, great, I know that there was a page on their site that 404s and I'm supposed to copy the content. Content's not there. So you can go to archive.org, archive.org. And basically what Archive does is it lets you see old versions of web pages on the web. So you can go back and see what a website looked like in 2001. So if you type in the specific page that was deleted that now has links going to it, but it's 404ing, you can see a copy of what used to be on that page before. And that can help you generate content ideas to be able to replace content that your competitors inadvertently got rid of, even though they had links and possibly traffic coming to those. So I always say that a singer is only a performer when she has an audience, and this is for anybody that doesn't know who this is. I'm disappointed, but this is Carrie Underwood. And so basically Carrie Underwood is an amazing singer, but she's always been an amazing singer. She didn't become a multi-platinum artist until she went on American Idol and other people heard her actually sing. So you can have the best content in the world, but if you don't promote it and you don't get it out there, then it's not going to make any difference whatsoever. You can be the best singer in the shower. Unless a recording agent hears you, it's not going to do you much good in your career. So we're going back to BuzzSumo, and this is one of the reasons why I love this tool, and to me this tool is worth every cent that I spend on it from a content promotion perspective. So now you have some ideas on the content that you're going to write, and you've seen competing content or content that's kind of similar. You can go ahead, and one of the things that you can do is you can either type in a specific piece of content or you can type in a domain name, but you can click on something called View Sharers. And what that does is it'll actually show you who shared the content, be it that specific piece of content or be it the content in general from the domain. If somebody's sharing Sugar Ray a lot, then chances are they like to share things about SEO and affiliate marketing. But this will allow you to see exactly who it is that shared the site. And again, you can sort it. Up here, you'll see total shares. So you can sort it and then view the shares. And what that'll do is that'll show you a list of people who have retweeted it or whatever type of platform it is that they shared it on. And then you can sort by the average number of retweets that person gets. You can like mine down and see who it is that's already sharing the type of content that you're going to be creating. And it's very helpful when it comes to being able to push your content and hopefully get it exposure. You'll see on the top left that you can filter by type, so you can filter by bloggers, influencers. Influencers are basically people that have large followings. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're influencers. And then companies, journalists, and regular people. So this can kind of help you hone down why would you look at them individually? Why wouldn't you just go ahead and pitch it to everybody? Because you would want to craft your pitch based on the type of person that they are. One, companies aren't usually super likely to retweet stuff depending on what market you're in. But if you're talking to regular people, you want to make sure that you talk to them like they're regular people. Journalists, you may want to kiss a little more ass when you're talking to them and things along those lines. So I always say that if you're going to build content, don't let your content go out dressed like this. And I'm really sorry for whoever these people are. But I always tell people that you want to make sure that if you are trying to push content, that one, you want to make sure that you have your social image sizes set up correctly. Every network has a different size. And there's also social markup. And so if anybody in here is using Yoast, again, he has a free version. He now also has a paid version. If you're doing any type of, if you own WordPress, you should have Yoast installed. Like that's my opinion, his WP SEO plugin. But so he'll also allow you to identify specific markup. There's also a plugin if you guys are heavy on Pinterest called Pin It Button Pro. And so basically these plugins will allow you to set specific images for specific networks. So you know how like you create the collage image for Pinterest? It's like 8 delicious recipes, and then there's like pictures of the 6 recipes, and there's like a pretty title graphic over it, and then you share it on Facebook, and it looks like complete crap because like the title's cut off, and there's like half a picture of all the recipes. So this will allow you to set different sizes for different social networks. As an individual, there are plenty of times that I have not shared something because it pulls up an image that just doesn't, that for whatever reason, I don't want on my wall. So when you're pushing things socially, and frankly, these days, that's the easiest way to push your content. Just make sure that you're making it easy for people to share and that people feel like they're sharing something that looks good, that's going to be useful to their readers. It seems very shallow, but if y'all haven't been out in the real world is really shallow. So just make sure that you are addressing your social media content not like them. Who here watches Parks and Recreation? Oh, not many of you. It's such a good show. So this is Tom Haverford, and he's kind of like, I don't want to call him a scuzzbag, but he's awesome. He's one of the most awesome characters on the show. And this is a quote from his character. And it says, "At the risk of bragging, one of the things I'm best at is riding coattails. Behind every successful man is me, smiling and taking partial credit." So when you are creating content, there is a way that you can do this. Basically, you can leverage somebody else's authority in the SERPs to create content for that site that then gets you exposure, that then can get your site exposure and help drive people back to your site. And so this is something that I typed in, and it's small business SEO tips, right? And so you'll see that all the sites that are squared off right here are sites that are publishing content from other people. And so, Search Engine Land, they have columnists, Small Business Computing, Entrepreneur, that's a columnist, Constant Contact, Experian, these are all like guest columnists. So these are all blogs that have authority on specific keywords. And if you can approach them and write content for them and make sure that you optimize the title of the content that you're writing, you can actually use their domain authority to get your content to rank in Google. And so from the perspective of, this is guest blogging. Yes, it's guest blogging. And so anybody who pays attention to SEO knows that, basically Google came out and said, if you guest blog, this guy's going to chase you around until it bites you in the ass. And my opinion when it comes to that is, again, you have to be a badass. Like, if the site that you're going to get the content published on is actually going to drive you traffic, then screw what Google says. Because from that perspective, those aren't the types of things that Google's looking to penalize when it comes to guest blogging. What Google was looking to penalize when it came to guest blogging was when you wrote a post that was sandwiched in between a post about Viagra and breast augmentation on a blog that nobody ever reads that has a default WordPress theme, and you happen to have 4 cherry-picked anchor texts in there to your site. That's the type of guest blogging that Google wants to get rid of. They've said multiple times that they are fine with columnists. And so basically my litmus test for a columnist is, one, does that site rank well in the search engines? If I was going to do it with a no follow link, is that if I wasn't going to get any type of link value from it, is that a site that I would still want to blog on? How many people in here would turn down the chance to blog on entrepreneur.com? So that you want to do regardless of what Google says from an SEO perspective, but entrepreneur.com is a really strong website. So if you write something for them, you're going to be able to rank as long as it's about the core keywords that they're known for ranking for. This applies to everything, whether you're a fashion blogger, whether you're a cooking blogger, whether you're a recipe blogger. I don't care what type of content you do. Find the big dogs in your industry that it seems like no matter what search term you type in for your industry, they're ranking on the first page. The other thing that I would say too is, off the record, I'm looking at the video camera, is when I do these types of things, I usually ask the blogger, like, hey, like there's just this stigma around guest blogging. Can we just not mention that word? Can you just not call me a guest columnist, a guest author, a guest, basically any of those keywords that Google would be able to use to identify a guest blogger? And can you just introduce me as your friend that's going to share information? The other thing is too, is that you do not want your account to be guest blogger. You want the blogger to actually take the time to create a profile for you, things along those lines. And again, what you're looking to do is leverage their authority in the SERPs to get your content in front of other people. There's a term that I rank for that is very financially good for me. And there's another guy that's been trying to rank for this term for a while with his own site, right? And he's like 4 spots below me, and I know he's trying to rank for it because he told me he was trying to rank for it. And then he went to a major site in the industry and he wrote a post on the same topic, and guess who's above me on this keyword now? Not with his own domain, but he's the guy who wrote it, and he's the guy getting the exposure on the term now, and it's very relevant to the topic, and it does drive him business. So make sure that you leverage these things if at all possible. So mobile, how many people in here still don't have a mobile ready site? No, there's 2 people who are honest. So obviously Google has said, the April 21st, Google basically set a deadline for April 21st and said either you're mobile friendly or we will kill you in SEO. And then April 21st came and everybody who was mobile was like, I got no bump. Some people were like, hey, I actually went down. Google was like, ha ha ha, the web is now mobile. And so basically this past year in 2015, mobile searches overtook desktop on Google. And what that means is that more of the searches happening on Google are happening from a mobile device than they are for desktop, which is why Google made the huge push and wanted everybody to be mobile, because they want their users' experience to be good. And the only way their users' experience is good if most of them are on mobile is if your site experience on mobile is good. And so usually when people decide to flip to mobile, how many people in here are using like a free WordPress plugin to be mobile? Once again, I call BS. There's got to be more than one of you. But so usually when people go mobile, it's like, they're just trying to make themselves show up mobile. And it's not just showing up on a phone and not being slow and being mobile, and having menus collapsing. And I usually say that when people make the flip to mobile, they're like a squirrel crossing the street, right? They can't decide which way to go. They come back. They don't know what it is that they're supposed to be doing. And they're basically just, scatterbrained running across the street trying not to get hit by a car, be that, users leaving or Google ranking their sites like crap. Getting it together from a mobile perspective is going to become very important. And the reason for that is that when it comes to social networks, the major source of content sharing on the web, the majority of their traffic is mobile. And so that means if you want to be shared on a mobile network, if somebody's viewing Facebook mobile, and I click on a link and you have a crappy mobile experience, I'm probably going to click back. I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to tell my friends that they should go visit that article because I could barely see it and I had to zoom and constantly scroll back and forth, and now I'm just annoyed with you. Same thing, and mobile experience doesn't just go, and that's why I said it's not just about shrinking it to a small screen either. How many times have you clicked on something from Facebook and it's like the 21 most outrageous celebrity photos, and you go and you have to click right for every single photo? And you get to like photo 5 and you're like, this shit isn't funny enough. And you like click out of it, right? And you don't want to share it because you didn't even go through it. You were annoyed with it. So mobile experience is also looking at how is somebody using it on a mobile device. It's not just shrinking it to the screen, but it's whether or not you're providing an experience that's easy for a mobile user so that they'll share it. Another interesting thing that came out, and I apologize, I don't have it in here, but somebody did a study, and I'll tweet it out later if anybody wants to look at it, but somebody did a study and found out that less than 2% of share buttons are clicked by mobile users. So when people are on your on your content, the tweet this and the Facebook this and the Pinterest, less than 2% of users are actually clicking those buttons. So where you're really getting the share aspects from a mobile perspective is people sharing it within network, not necessarily going to your site and reading the content and then clicking share. But being in their network, clicking on your content, clicking back from your content, and then clicking share or retweet or repin from the network. So you guys want to make sure that you're mobile. You want to make sure that your content is mobile ready. Whether you're responsive or whether you have an M.dot site, Google does not care. Responsive is easier, works on a lot of devices if you don't have the money to create an M.dot for every single device. There is a mobile-friendly test for mobile-friendly approval. If you go to Google and type in mobile-friendly test, it will come up. If you are blocking, it used to be years ago, we said block JavaScript and CSS files. That's very common for that to be done on your blog, especially if you followed an SEO guide from 7 years ago. So you guys need to make sure that you unblock CSS and JS files because it will make you fail the mobile-friendly test if you guys are blocking those. So your site may be completely mobile and you may be running it through and going, why? And it's because you have a CSS file blocked. And then you want to work on conversion, bounce, et cetera, metrics on mobile. One of the things that I find, how many people in here are bloggers and make money through AdSense, CPM advertising, et cetera? Not your primary way, but like you have AdSense running on your site. So most of your themes look like crap when you go to mobile from an AdSense perspective. And what I mean by that is that when the site goes responsive, all the ads in the sidebar go down to the bottom, right? So like people would basically have to be scrolling all the way down to the footer of your site before they actually see an ad to click on it. So one of the things that I encourage you guys to do is if you're looking at changing blog themes, and whether that means that you're running affiliate banners in your sidebar or whether you're running AdSense in your sidebar, is make sure that you're viewing these themes and how they look on mobile. A theme claiming that it's mobile responsive is fantastic, but there are a lot of companies that basically they're designers. So they build things to look pretty, and they don't build things to be functional or focus on revenue when it comes to condensing them. So make sure that you're looking for AdSense-friendly or ad-friendly mobile responsive themes that will inject the AdSense in the middle of the content when the site goes like this versus putting it at the bottom of the site in the sidebar. And keep in mind that desktop is never going to be bigger than search again. And now it's not even just mobile. Now we have like watch mobile and all this other stuff. So, you guys, if you haven't gotten mobile, that has to be like your #1 perspective and that's from a content marketing perspective. If your content looks like shit on mobile, it's not going to get shared. And so this is, just to give you an idea, this is somebody from a mobile perspective. This is a true story. They have lost 17% from desktop over the last year, and their mobile devices is over 50%. They are an e-commerce site. They are not a tech gadget site. They sell shirts and sweatshirts, and they are now over 50% mobile. If they keep maintaining that growth year over year, their mobile is going to account for 67% of their site within the next 2 years, and this was a big one. Their mobile conversion rate was 0.23% versus 2.43% on desktop. That's huge, guys. Like, that's huge. That means that every second that every user that mobile gains, they're losing sales. So their traffic is increasing, but their sales are declining because the percentage of their traffic that's mobile has increased. So from a perspective of, I have a post on my blog that shows you how you need to go. How many people here have AdSense integrated into Google Analytics? Okay, good. For those of you that don't, so basically you have your AdSense reports, right? And they really don't give you a lot of data, but if you integrate AdSense into Google Analytics, you can see things like what's your click-through rate. Now you can if you dig down through like Google AdSense, but you can see what your click-through rate is on mobile for Google AdSense, right? So you may find that you have a 2% click-through rate on desktop, but you have a 0.10% click-through rate on mobile. And if you view your site on mobile, it's probably because the ads are all the way in the footer of your site on every single page. So that will help you basically try and rearrange your site so that you can get higher click-through rates. The other thing that integrating AdSense into Google Analytics does is it'll show you that data by page, so that you can also see if you guys are doing event tracking. So let's say that you're doing affiliate links, you guys should be doing event tracking on affiliate links. If you're not doing event tracking on affiliate links, I recommend that you look into doing that. But if you're doing event tracking on affiliate links, same thing. You can see whether or not people are clicking on affiliate links based on what device they're on. And you can kind of basically try and optimize your content so that your affiliate offers or your advertising are kind of in their face. There's also another link, and I apologize, that I will share on Twitter, and I just found this recently, and that's why it's not in this presentation. But when we were getting back to less people share content when they're on mobile, right, from your tweet it, Pinterest buttons, part of the reason for that is how many people in here have the native Twitter app on their phone? Almost everybody that uses Twitter, right? Like you have just the regular Twitter app. And so you're on my blog and you click my tweet button and it takes you to the web and it's like log into Twitter. And you're like, I don't know why they haven't figured that out yet to send you to the Twitter app to do it instead of making you log in. But there is a plugin, and again, I will tweet it out within the next 2 hours, but there is a plugin that makes those mobile friendly and will make them jump to your native apps for when people click on the share button. So I would recommend that you are using those plugins. They work normally when you're on desktop, but they work from a mobile perspective for sharing content to make it easier for people to share. One of the problems with that, though, however, is we are now trained not to click on the tweet it button because it's going to open up our browser. But the more of us that make those share buttons mobile friendly, the more likely it is that we'll eventually hit a point where people are actually clicking on those. And then my last thing for y'all is the whole point of creating content is to bring people to your site, right? And I would venture to say that the majority of people in here that are creating content are creating it for two reasons. Well, aside from making money, but you're creating it to either get people in, or you're creating it to rank in Google. Those are pretty much the only two reasons that I create any type of content for. And you do all this work to get people in from Google, and at any point in time, Google could decide that it hates your site. It could decide that you break a rule. There are, and I'm sure people in here have heard of the panda and penguin penalties, and I can tell you that if you know SEOs, ask them how many false positives they see. We see them every day. Sites that don't deserve to get hit but did. And so, you guys absolutely need to focus on converting visitors into newsletter subscribers or list subscribers. And I'll tell you a little story, right? About 4 years ago, I was talking with my buddy Derek Halpern, and he was talking about, he's like, why don't you have a mailing list? Mailing list? What is this, like 1999? Like, I don't need a mailing list. I can rank for anything I want in Google. And he goes, oh yeah. He's like, well, let's say that like Google penalizes your site tomorrow. He's like, how many people do you have to talk to? Because I can send an email to 100,000 people tomorrow. And I was like, that's a good point. So I went home and started building an email list. So it's like, while you guys are bringing this traffic in, while it's good, while Google's sending you traffic, while Facebook's sending you traffic, how many people were doing Facebook marketing, like jumped on that bandwagon as soon as it came out and built your Facebook page and built your fan page, and you were sharing articles and you were getting great traction and you were getting tons of traffic from Facebook, and then Facebook was like, hold the gravy train, it's time to pay. So if you had been capturing emails from all of that traffic when it was easy to get that traffic, you'd still be able to talk to those people. Whereas now you have to pay to promote posts to be able to talk to those people. So Derek has a little quote that I pulled from a video, and I love using this picture of him. I don't think that he likes that I use this picture of him. But he basically said, if you're not building an email list, you're an idiot. And that is an absolute true story. Use whoever it is that you want. I use Aweber. There's a killer plugin that you can use with Aweber to tag people. And I plan on doing a post about that in a week or so, but just make sure that you guys are building your email list while you're building this content, because you guys are doing so much work to get people to your site that you need to make sure that those people are your people and that you can talk to those people for as long as they have the same email address, which in this day and age is pretty much forever at this point. So that's all I have for y'all. I hope that everybody in here will be able to go home and use some of these tools and find some content ideas and be able to promote it a little better, and pay a little more attention to monetizing that content when it comes to mobile. I blog for bloggers on sugarray.com. I have a newsletter that I send out every week that's not bullshit fluff and me trying to get you to buy things. It's actually stuff that you can use. If anybody needs consulting help, we do that at pushfire.com. And I curse like a sailor and rant about football on Twitter. So that's all I have, and if anybody has any questions, let me know.
The company that I work for is considering doing some article marketing, articles that we've written and that we have on our websites through automated systems like Article Marketing Robot. Do you recommend that?
I had a feeling.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the, and you'd be surprised how common it is, and it's usually from people that don't have a large SEO background, so they're like, there's nothing wrong with asking the question, but it's kind of like, one, any content that's on your site, you should not be syndicating on any other site. You're gonna need 2 versions of that content. The Panda filter was essentially created to catch that kind of marketing. The other thing is too, is that from the perspective of putting it through to those, you're basically, it's kind of like press release link building, it's almost the same, it's like syndicated article link building, and it's actually against Google's terms of service. And I'm not claiming to be all pristine and like I never do anything, according to Google, the second that you're doing anything to try and get graphic or traffic from Google, you're breaking Google's guidelines. But that's something that they've specifically said is an issue. So from a Panda perspective, if you're doing it using the same content on your site, you could run into a Panda issue. And if you're doing it with anchor-rich links back to your website, you're going to run into a Penguin issue. This heckler.
I actually have a serious question. Editorial calendaring. Are you using a tool for that, or are you not doing it? We have debates within our office. There are some of my guys that say it's useless. We shouldn't be even planning out for 6 months of what we're doing because we do so much real time. But there are several tools out there for editorial calendaring. I'm wondering if you've used any or have any recommendations.
So remember when I said that like all the best tools are paid? I lied. There's some tools that are really good that are free. There's a WordPress plugin called the Editorial Calendar plugin, and so it works with WordPress. Now, I think you're probably talking like large scale companies. For the individual blogger, that plugin's great. You can basically write in post ideas that you have through the calendar in your back end, and it automatically creates a post in WordPress. And then let's say that you get behind, not that I've ever gotten behind and meant to publish something on Tuesday and it threw my whole editorial, but you can like drag and drop stuff so that it'll change the publish dates. So from a blogger perspective, I like that plugin a lot. I think one of the problems that you run into is, and this is my personal opinion, but nobody should be blogging just because it's Tuesday. So it's kind of one of those things that I do use editorial calendars from the perspective of, I don't want a site to not have a post for 3 weeks, and then everybody's like, oh shit, I thought you were blogging on Tuesday. So from that perspective, I do like to keep an editorial calendar, but I keep very loose editorial calendars. I don't ever want to blog just for the sake of putting content out there. I'd rather have 10 strong posts than 50 weak posts. Yes, ma'am. Are there any other questions?
So this would be a real question as well. So responsive versus mobile sites, where would your tipping points or lines be drawn? For content sites, maybe responsive, but for e-commerce, going full mobile?
For me personally, I think it depends on your budget. The lower your budget, the more likely that responsive is going to be the answer for you. I mean, if you're maintaining device-based mobile sites, there are so many devices. Like, do y'all have the money right now to stop everything and build a site that's compatible with Apple's new watch thing? So for me, I think for most companies, it's going to be responsive, and especially for individual bloggers, it's going to be responsive. If you have, I don't pretend to be the end-all, be-all on mobile when it comes from a mobile perspective, but the guys that I do believe are the end-all, be-all on mobile perspective, typically say, like, in their dream world, every single site would have a version that matches a specific device, but in the real world, basically only the Fortune 500 companies have the budget to execute that and execute it well. So responsive in most cases.
What's your timeline on all sites going SSL, and where would you put that in the priority list of wish for, I have to do, in theory it's great?
Google's so full of shit on it having a ranking benefit. Basically, Google, in my opinion, this is my take on it. I don't work for Google, obviously. I don't take people out to dinner that give me the inside lowdown. But Google went secure. We lost keyword data unless you pay for the keyword data, because the user experience is only a priority if you're getting it for free. But so Google basically went SSL, and I think what they're trying to do with SSL is, what is another word for this? they're trying to cock block other, I'm sorry, I can't think of any other word that's like, I'm sorry, I'm on the spot and it's hard to think of I don't have a thesaurus up here. But I think they're basically trying to do that from everybody being able to get the data. And so they're making a big push for secure. I can tell you that I flipped a few sites now. I did it to Sugar Ray just for, I woke up one morning and was like, let me see what happens, if we flip secure. And it was interesting. So we flipped it secure, and I actually sent out a thing in my newsletter, I think it was like last week or the week before, where I detailed everything that I did before I flipped to secure. So one, it sucks because you lose all your social proof, right? The second that you flip to SSL, your Pinterest count goes down to 0. By the way, there is one social network that apparently got their crap together with that, and it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually still showing your shares from HTTPS or from HTTP when you switch to the secure version. But you lose all your social proof. It's a pain in the rear end to, pull resources for the individual blogger. It's like there's so many things in your theme that are pulling from non-secure that, if you don't know any type of PHP, or if you're scared to go into your blog's actual theme, you're going to have to hire a developer to do it. But, Google basically, so Google wants everybody SSL. They've got a hard-on for it right now. I don't know why, but they want everybody to go SSL. So, of course, what they do is say, hey, there's going to be a ranking benefit for it. And all the webmasters were like, oh my God, we got to flip to SSL. And so I flipped to SSL, with a strong ranking. With a strong ranking site, in my industry, and basically was like, well, let's see what happens. So I lost all my social shares. I had to spend a bunch of money on dev work to flip it over to secure. And then I looked at the analytics, and there was like this bump, and I was like, holy crap, there's actually a ranking benefit for 4 days later. Nope, no, there's not. So I'm not sure what that 4 days was, but no, I've seen every site that we've moved over to secure, we've seen absolutely no benefit for. I'm hoping that at some point the social networks, basically the main reason that I have, the main like pullback that I have for wanting to do it, especially for bloggers, is you lose your social proof. And I don't care who says, oh, it's vanity, it's blah, blah, blah. I want that social proof. I feel like when a blogger comes to my recipe and sees that there's 50,000 pins, it makes them more likely to think it's a good recipe. So I think that I really wish the social networks would get on board and change that. I think until they get on board to change that, there's not enough benefit to flip your sites at this point. I think if you're going to change your URL structure for any reason, that to me would be, if you're going to go through all the redirects and lose your social proof and everything anyway, then I would flip to secure. But outside of that, I think until the social networks get on board, and until you actually hear people who say they've actually had a ranking benefit from doing that, I mean, for right now, I wouldn't worry about it. That said, Google's made it very clear that they want the web secure, and typically what Google wants, they find a way to manhandle their way into getting. So she is telling me it's time, so thank you very much for coming to my session.